All right. Uh, so ultimately, because of how slow things have been, and due to the fact that I have to get my PC repaired, what you're gonna see as a kind of a video instead of what was supposed to have released on Tuesday, and because I don't know if I'll get my PC back on Thursday or not, we'll see. I figured in kind of as a, I guess you could say, consolation video, I decided I would do ahead of time, and mind you, in not the way I intended. I originally was planning on using Sir Green Screen, who's been set up, and I was thinking I'd have horns and be able to do tons of editing. But because of how everything has gone, I just have to say fuck it. It sucks. I don't like it. This is not what I wanted or planned. I was planning on going big, doing some heavy editing, having me and the many eyes up in the same room. But things have just gotten so effing out of hand to the point where I have no choice. So here's my review for Baldur's Gate 3. Yes, it is quite late, but to be fair, I didn't want to rush anything. Uh, I will admit, I think I've put in, let's see, 600 some on. Let me even double check since it's still right here. So just give me one sec. So we're at right now, oh dear lord, we're already 632 hours. Woo! Ah, happened fast. Ultimately, let me just tell you right now. I've been doing tactical difficulty, and I'm just gonna tell you right now. Anyone who tells you tactical is so easy is a fucking liar and a sack of shit. Or there's someone who's not giving the whole info in the entire picture. Ultimately, tactical mode and yes, even honor mode are not easy at all. That is a line of bullshit they use so they can stroke their dick and make themselves look better than they are. No. The only way you can make tactical mode not oppressively unfun is if you are abusing the surprised mechanic. Now, here's the thing, this mechanic isn't so easy to abuse as some people like to put it. It isn't. You're full of shit. I've been doing it. You're full of shit. I have now literally seen a grand total of freaking 26 hours worth of proof that you're full of shit. So don't bother wasting my time typing anything out in the comments. Just don't even bother. I'm not going to read it. I'm not even going to acknowledge you. The reality and the truth is that the surprise mechanic itself is only busted if these specific things all work in alignment. If any one of these is off, then the mechanic will not trigger properly. 1. You have to be stealthing. 2. You have to ensure you do damage. And 3. You have to make sure that whoever you're doing this to is not a civilian or a talkable NPC. They have to be a monster or a goblin. And even then, it's not guaranteed to work. You also have to do this constantly with no errors and without a single microscopic mistake. Spoiler alert here, if you're human, you're gonna fuck this up at least once. That's gonna happen at some point. It's unavoidable. Humans are not freaking metronomes. They're not. We are not flawless and unparalleled beings of perfection. No, let's cut the bullshit. No. Honestly, tactician mode is a bitch. It is unfun. It is the equivalency of a cheating DM who just fakes and bullshits every single roll and only throws in a miss to ensure you don't bitch and complain about them cheating, even though you know they're cheating. That's what tactician mode is. Even when you have an AC of a minimum of 20 or even 21, as I had, guess what? They're still going to almost always hit. No matter what, no matter when, no matter where, no matter what you have. They will almost always hit. It doesn't get better from there in Tactician mode. Tactician mode, even though you have resistance to poisons and diseases, that means fucking shit because you'll still get poisoned 9 times out of 10. No, really. 9 times out of 10, even when you're freaking got a resistance to poison and diseases, it means nothing because they'll still get to apply it 9 times out of 10. But you hitting them, good luck. You're not going to do that a lot. Even when you have a +7 modifier to your overall accuracy, that means fuck all. You are still going to miss more than half of your attacks. You heard me right. More than half. Yeah. Oh, and if you think, oh, that's just because it was boss. No, it's that way with legitimately damn near everything. Even goblins, the early game goblins, even they're like that, where more than half of your attacks are not going to hit, but more than half of their attacks will definitely hit you. Oh, what's that? What's that? You have a high AC? That don't mean shit. That means nothing. Get the fuck out. That's Tactician mode summarized perfectly. It is a cheating DM who is fudging and falsifying the rolls so traumatically to the point of where you hitting is a pain in the ass, but them hitting you is bordering on effortless. Don't play Tactician mode, please. Don't. It's really not worth it. You're just going to hate the game then. Now, again, this is if you abuse surprise mechanic, there is another way to make it a little more, not good, but tolerable, is if you have friends who are wanting or willing to do that with you. If you have some friends, you can make this better. Not good, just better. You can make it more endurable, but it's still just not fun. Honestly, objectively speaking, the two lowest difficulties are honestly the best difficulties. If you're someone who's never played D&D and you've never played a CRPG, then congratulations. Play Explorer. You'll be able, especially if you have like someone who can help guide you through it or someone who's like willing to play as a support character, so that this way you can basically learn the hard way without any real consequences. These are two methods that honestly can work. Especially, like I said, for those new players who haven't played D&D at all or and haven't played CRPGs at all. Hell, my girl who managed recently got to play Digimon and Dragons. Ultimately, though, I've gotten her to play this back before that, and mind you, she's a COD faithful damn near, okay? She's damn near a COD faithful, and she had fun. She enjoyed it. Uh-huh. Based off the stigmatisms of COD players, that, I feel like, says something. When someone who is no familiar with this genre, has no familiar with what inspired this genre or this game, and yet you still managed to have fun. I feel like that is a positive. That needs to be said and hammered home more than it sometimes does. Now, the next thing. If you're someone like me who has a pretty decent amount of both D&D and CRPG, history and knowledge, then for you, honestly, explorers, it's plenty fun, but for you, you're going to get that challenge, that difficulty, but not bullshit difficulty. You're going to get better, more manageable difficulty if you put it on balanced. Now, personally, I myself am going to tell you right now that this game honestly is just so much fun. It really is, especially like I said, when you ignore Tactician and Honor, when you pretend those don't exist, the game is a lot of fun. It's really good, really solid, and has been pretty much from the get-go. Most any bugs or errors or glitches or whatever I've seen, none of them have stuck around. Like I've been trying intentionally, and I haven't gotten even half of the bugs or glitches or funny things I would see to happen again. Quite really, it's that level of stable and functional. Been that way for a while now. That whatever issues I would see, they would last once and only once a playthrough, and they wouldn't be able to be repeated at all. Some of them were funny though, so it was a little bit of a bummer for that. Ultimately speaking, when it comes to complaints, I do have to get them out of the way. And I'm going to go into them right now. Honestly, I wish there was more subclasses and more races. No. I know that. I know Wizards did some stupid shit where they basically removed all half races and mixed heritage races because they're incompetent. But I honestly kind of hope Larian. I don't care if it's out of spite towards Wizards or as a favor to the rest of us. I don't really care what their methodology here would be, but I would appreciate if they decided, and let's bring back mixed races. Let's bring that shit back. Yeah. For example, I would love. I have multiple mixed races in my head that I would love to try out, like freaking half dwarf, half tiefling, who happens to be a freaking fighter mixed with warlock. I would love to do that. That sounds fun. Bonkers, but fun. There, but when it's kind of the subclasses, for me, I would rather they just all be there. Honestly, it also doesn't help that even my two of my favorite subclasses, one for the barbarian and one for the rogue, isn't actually here. Now you can mitigate this problem if you're someone who's on PC. If you're on PC, you can mod this and fix this issue, no problem. I myself am on PS5. So, and I've never been able to find a video that can teach me how to like friggin' mod a game on the PS5s. I've before gone searching and never found anything. Maybe I could try again, I guess. But I have no clue if that would be worth my time. But ultimately, genuinely speaking, and this part just kind of blows my mind, but if I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of wish these were here. There's no Path of the Beast Barbarian subclass. And there's no Swashbuckler. Damn it. And the worst part for me is I was kind of hoping maybe I could make my favorite D&D character that I've ever made. Johnny Silvar, inspired by Johnny Silver, the pirate. Uh, Now, I have no delusions on making his crew because uh, I don't think that would be allowed. I feel like that might be asking a little too much. But I loved that character and I would have loved to have made him. The problem is that while his fighter subclass is here, his rogue swashbuckler subclass is not. Here's the thing. Honestly, this isn't even the biggest priority, though, for when it comes down to it, in my opinion. There are two main major priorities that honestly I kind of wish Larian would get to work on sooner and not later. Because these two things are vital and huge quality of life improvements that will stretch very far into the future in benefit. One of these things being the overall increase of the level cap. The reality is the level cap being 12. Now, granted, this is again on PS5. I believe there is a mod out there that basically undoes that bullshit level cap. But ultimately speaking, on PS5, you're stuck with the level cap. Now, the level cap is 12. For those of you who don't know, basically outside of tactical mode, where it gives all experience and doubles the amount of experience required for every level, in the better modes, how this works is still kind of inefficient. What winds up happening is by the time you are ending the second act, you're already pretty much done. You're level 9 or 10. If you really did a lot, you're level 11. And it doesn't help that there's no real justification for you being locked to 12. There isn't. There's plenty of opponents you're going to fight in Chapter 3 that are 20. Plenty of them. A good hefty number of opponents who are going to be level 20, and you're incapable of matching them for levels. Because, like you, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's an error, maybe it's a mistake, maybe it's something that they just did without really realizing the impact of it all. But I'm going to tell you right now, it kind of feels like artificial fake difficulty slapped in again. The thing is you don't need to be gimping player levels to have that difficulty. Do you know the stats of a red dragon? The stats of a red dragon are called middle finger. Okay? They are the bed. Sevi, you follow? What I'm saying here is that a red dragon, you don't need to gimp players' levels to make those fights hard. They do a ton of damage, they tank a ton of damage, and honestly, it makes no real beneficial sense to have this artificial roadblock, really. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not really beneficial to the players or even the game itself, honestly. Especially since, let's be honest here, even if we have players do like hardcore completionists, I very much doubt that by the time they're in chapter 3 they'd be level 20. I think maybe they'd at least have more growth and it wouldn't be as bad. And it also doesn't help that a lot of the coolest stuff for pretty much all of these subclasses that they do have, a lot of their coolest shite is 16, 18, freaking 20. In other words, the levels you can't even get to. Hell, for some classes, it's 14 to add insult to injury. Yeah, some of the coolest stuff that these classes, these subclasses get is just locked off. And it kind of sucks, especially for some that their whole thing is kind of only really shines at its fullest when you get to the later levels. For example, a warlock is pretty awesome once you get to those later levels because not only are they having bigger buffs and benefits, but they become a nightmare to deal with at ranged. For another example being that of the fighter. They suddenly can now go at level, I think it's 18. It's either 18 or 17. I can't remember exactly. But they gain yet another extra attack. What this allows them to do, basically, is pretty much attack about 4 times every single turn. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand what the beauty of the fighter is. The fighter might be basic, and he is. No lie. But no one can deny when it comes down to it, he can do some fan freaking he can go ape. Hell, just to paint a picture, imagine this. Sure, barbarians are more tanky, but when it comes down to just raw damage output, I'm sorry, but there's not a ton that can keep up with a fighter. Especially not the best one out of the lot, let's be real here. But especially, for example, a champion subclass fighter is a terror. Why? It's critting more often than anybody else combined, to the point of where if you use certain gear boosts, you can even make it so it's basically about a 17 or even a 16 needed at most to go ape and do crit after crit. No, really. Only needing about 16 or 17. Granted, that's just the lowest I've ever seen. There might be more ways to lower it further that I don't know of. But it doesn't stop there. Oh no. Ooh, no. If you are dual wielding, congratulations. You're doing the 4 attacks and another attack. Oh, what's that? You have 3 levels into the rogue and have taken the thief subclass? Congratulations. You get to do 4 attacks and you still can do another 2 bonus attacks. Hell, set yourself up with the two weapon fighting style and add in the freaking dual wielding perk. Congratulations, you made it so that now, if you have 2 long swords, you are doing a D8 for both hands with the same level of accuracy, and you still have your modifier on top of that, whatever that amount is. So to paint you an image, I can attack 4 times with a D8 with a +5. We're just gonna bullshit and run with an 8. Just being the number roll. Just for the sake of expediency, okay? Just for the sake of expediency. So 8 plus 5, well, that's a grand total of 13, unless my math is off. In which case, I'll roast myself religiously later. but I'm thinking it's 18. So, or 13. Bleh. So grand total of 13. Well, I get to do that grand total of 4 times. So 4 times 13. 3, so that's 12. Then carry the 1. So basically 20, no, 50 something damage. I think 54 was. Sorry, math was never my strong suit in high school. Never. Anyways, well, I can do another 2 more of those. So let's see. 13 plus 13, that's 26. 26 plus 54 for a grand total of, carry the 1, 2, 80 damage roughly. 80 damage, and that's not once, that's every turn. We're not even using optimized gear setups right now. We're just using baseline stuff, rookie shite. By the time you're into those late levels, you're not rocking basic gear no more. You're not. You're probably rocking some green, probably possibly rocking some blue by that point, which would add further increases to the damage. But for simplicity's sake, so 100 per turn. Well, or sorry, 80 per turn. Well, if I use Action Surge, I can basically double that to 160 damage on just one singular turn. Mind you, if I'm high enough in level, I can even use Action Surge again, allowing me to basically do 2 Action Surges, allowing me to basically pump out a grand total of about 320 damage. Now, I'm pretty sure that the secondary Action Surge is, I'm pretty sure, a level 20 ability. While I'm not confident, I'd have to relook it all up. Basically, imagine that. You gotta remember is that there are no spells early on in the game that can kind of do the same thing. There's some spells late game that can kind of keep up with that, but the catch is that those things run out of spell slots really quickly, whereas the fighter can just do it all damn day. No break needed. Don't get me wrong, the fighter's still basic. Let's not BS here. He basic as a basic bitch. He the basics of basics. He's so basic bitches don't fucks with him at all. Let's be real. And I'm not saying the fighter's flawless, because anyone who says that is silly or drunk. Ultimately speaking, the thing is that in this game, I kind of wish there's more I could do here when it comes to subclasses. I would love to try, for example, the freaking samurai for the fighter. I kind of want to try the psychic rogue subclass. I think it's called. Oh, I'm forgetting its name now. That bothers me greatly. Ah, damn it. But anyone who knows D&D knows what I'm trying to talk about. I also kind of wish there was more races. Like I said, I want to play. If I can't play as like mixed, races, which I mean that was dumb that freaking Wizards even eliminated that. That was freaking retarded and kind of racist, might I add. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, just to give you guys a mental image, there are plenty of places like this, but I'm gonna go with where I'm from to make this quicker instead of bringing up every single place that is like this, because then it'd be here too damn long. But basically, the entirety of the U.S. is literally one giant ass melting pot. Literally, it is a giant ass heritage melting pot. No matter where you look, even podunk small towns are like that. All right. Everywhere, anywhere you go in the all of US of A, we are many, and we mixed like a freaking nutcase. Hell, we're so mixed that honestly we make friggin' people who are high and looking for food look like the same people. That's the level of we are mixing with everybody and thing. Literally. Like, hell, even I myself am pretty aggressively mixed. I'm Italian, Irish, Bohemian, and one other thing that suddenly I'm forgetting. quite a mixture. Like that perfectly summarizes pretty much all of the U.S. It is just a giant melting pot. So that whole thing about that's not a real thing, that's a load of crap. There's literally, I wouldn't be surprised if more than half, if not almost all of the U.S. is literally just all mixed race. Like it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. That's how much of a melting pot we are. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of other places, but I don't want to list all of them because it'd be too long a video. But if I can't have that in this game, I kind of wish I had more races as a whole. Like, I would love to play as a goblin barbarian wielding a sword, tiny as hell, but in his hands it's a two-handed weapon, but to anyone else, oh, a little toothpick. Like, I would love to play as a turtle. I would love to try that. I wish freaking some of my favorite races that are in D&D5e were here. Like, I kind of want to play an Aarakocra or a freaking Goliath. The fact that the only Azamir that's in this game is non-playable sucks. Don't get me wrong, she's not the worst character that I've ever seen in gaming, but it just is a bummer that I can't play as my own Azamir. This is a bummer. Ah. Honestly, while I do desperately want more subclasses, more races to play, I will separate myself from that need and admit here and now their bigger priorities should be on New Game Plus. Not New Game Plus. Wow. Crossplay. Ah. I suck at English to this day. Oh joy. Ultimately, what I kind of need the more to focus on is that of getting crossplay here, for crying out loud. I don't want to drag Smab's ass through this game, since apparently she has stubbornly refused to even finish the thing from last I heard. Now, granted, maybe that's changed in time. That's very possible. But I'm just like, this game is literally amazing. It is easily the best game in all of 2023. And yeah, it does have a lot of D&D, but it also does have some differences. For just an example of the differences, Disguise Self, a spell that in D&D is badass to have because it allows you to impersonate someone so long as you've seen or have a mental image of what they look like. Here in Baldur's Gate 3, Disguise Self is trash. Garbage, useless. Fuck. I've tried multiple times. I want to try again, mind you, in like probably at most of a day or two. I'm going to try it again. But basically, one kind of thing that sucks is Disguise Self is so gimped. All it does is it allows you to switch your character to kind of randomly generated default character creator looks, and you can't mimic certain NPCs that you see along the way. Let me paint you a picture. I'm at Act 3. There's a certain area I'm in that technically I'm not allowed in. But I've seen the person who not only runs the factory, has taken over, and is even the literal, is the guy who's running everything here. I wanted to turn into him and basically stroll up, deception and charisma my way through, dealing with this problem covertly. The problem is that I cannot invade this factory and I cannot do it covertly. The only option I really have is charge. Well, there's a couple problems with this. One, I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to try and, deal with things on the DL so that this way, before the opposition can even realize that I was undermining them, it was already done and dealt with. Couldn't do that. Now then there's the bigger problem, and the part that just sucks. On top of not being able to do this, not being able to deal with this whole bit covertly at all, it even less helps that all you freaking uncontrollable guest characters. All of them have zero survivability and 100% suicidal rate. No, really. I can never, even if I build all of the richest companies, the entire planet, even if I build the entire universe a billion times over for just a penny, I will never ever be able to collect enough money to equal the number of times that those characters have either offed themselves, walked into a trap that they themselves made for another opponent to result in their death, decided I want to fail to, basically they'll fail to attack, but then decide I'm going to run that way. Not because there's any reason, not because of a spell effect. No, no, just to run that way and get hit and then die instantly. They'll blind themselves, grease themselves. I think one I even saw apply spike growth on itself. It's almost more impressive to see one lone survivor of all these idiot guest characters. That's the impressive moments when you see one survivor. Doesn't happen. Ever. They literally destroy themselves 24/7 in almost an instant of the fight starting. Yeah. Yeah, to me, these are the two things that need to be dealt with most. Improving the suicidal NPC uncontrollable guests and crossplay. These are the two things that need to be dealt with sooner, not later. These are things that are vital to the overall game experience. They really are. Trying to save guest characters is honestly just such a garbage experience that's not even worth doing almost all the time. The only exception off the top of my head is Jahira, but you kind of control her a little at one point. So it's a lot easier to keep her alive than any other guest character because you can control her and basically force her to bail out to survive. You can't do that with the rest of these numbskulls. They'll just continue to fight and die in droves. And then I'm left here just with my head in my hands. And no, cranking the difficulty does not change that at all. They still are borderline suicidal for some reason that I don't understand. Now, going into some more good here. Character creator, even though I wish that the character face models weren't so meh, I will say you can compensate and make up for that either with makeup, tattoos, scars, so on and so on. You can kind of mitigate the damage that these generic faces do. Now, I do think there's once again pretty much mods for most issues that are in this game, I believe. But again, I'm on PS5, not on PC. So ultimately that fact has to get swept to the side. Now, granted, in my case, I have to do it on PS5 because honestly, while I'm willing to spend money more on this game, ultimately speaking, this isn't exactly what I mean. And now let's slide into this, just so we can get it out the way before we get to the score and the last little notes. Okay? Let me just tell you right now. Larian, if you're seeing this, for more races, for more subclasses, and that level cap no longer being 12 and being 20, I'm willing to pay $30 right now. You heard me? Right now. Here, this moment. I am willing to do that at the drop of a pin. Just so I can have more races to play as, more subclasses to play as, and so this way I no longer am capping at 12 and then kind of bummed out about how I am starting Act 3 pretty much already maxed out. I do hope you hear that, and if you miss the rest of the video, cool. If someone just decides to take the part that actually, is directed at Larian and decides to send that to them, well, thank you for going above and beyond, truly. But I don't. I don't think anyone's going to do that. Ultimately, I will say this now as just another thing. I want, because it sucks that I can't get the other me's involved, unfortunately, but I can at least do this. I can at least give what they were going to say. Ultimately, demon me, evil, basically evil me, good me, even passive me, who's kind of a pussy and doesn't want to do anything. All right, even passive me, Hispanic me, and thug me all have pretty much the same mindset, which is a rare. That is more rare than a unicorn effing a leprechaun, while gold is raining down from the skies, while a rainbow is singing friggin' some smooth jazz in the background. It's rarer than all of that when we're all together of the same mind. Because normally, in some way, shape, or form, we're all kind of trying to destroy each other a little bit in here. You know? Anyways, madness aside, honestly, it's something that I feel like needs to say more is that honestly, no matter which aspect of me I that bring up with, we all have basically the same score and we both say the same thing. This game, no matter how you like to play, whether you like to play as an evil character, neutral character, good character, so on and so on, this game is honestly really fun. Hell, Thug Me was having a blast playing with freaking Hispanic me. Both of their characters getting drunk and basically decided to bare knuckle brawl without a shirt on or pants. Why did you guys strip the character for the? Oh, you're playing a monk. Okay. Apparently, they were playing a monk. That explains a lot. Ultimately speaking, even Evil Me and Good Me, who both have very wildly different things that they want to do. Evil Me wants to be a monster, make murder hobos look like the most gentle, loving souls. No, really. Uh huh. Uh huh. Good Me wants to basically help everyone. See the good in tons of people, yada yada hippie shite. And honestly, both were satisfied because they were able to do those to as much of an extent as they wanted. I myself, being the grounding agent for all these crackheads, I had my own fun even trying, finding the middle ground between them all, trying to be sometimes evil, sometimes good. It was just so much fun. And each one of us tried a little bit of a different thing. Evil me went barbarian. He decided he really liked going with a barbarian berserker with a rogue rogue thief level 3, so that this way he can move about really fast. Good me went, if I remember correctly, cleric, heavily focused on healing and heavy armor. He did pretty good too. Passive me gave up because he was scared. Are you still up in the corner, fool? What? Hey, hey. Why is you? Oh my lord. I swear. What I gotta deal with? Fool's gonna hide behind the green screen, cowering. Great. Ultimately, we all had fun, and we all did things something a little different. Even Thug and Hispanic me decided, let's go with a monk who butt a ball ass naked, drinking alcohol. Granted, then they found out there was a trophy, and they kicked themselves, saying, "Oh, why didn't we do that?" So now neutral me has to deal with it and do it himself. Granted, I've had too much fun, so I'm more than willing. So swings and roundabouts and all. Ultimately, while I am kind of sad I couldn't make my favorite D&D character, and while I am kind of bummed that the subclasses, they're a lot of them are just MIA, and it is a bummer that there are a good number of races that are just completely just not here. Especially since, like I said, I wanted to play as a goblin originally because I was thinking, yo, they're being attacked by goblins. How much of a mind F would it be to see a goblin fighting other goblins to save people? Like, just in the first area alone, playing as a goblin would be a mind blowing, completely WTF moment for these NPCs. And I was so excited for that. And I didn't get to do it. It's a bummer, but it is what it is. Hopefully, like I said, once they've gotten the whole crossplay implemented and once they've gotten these suicidal guest NPCs kind of, fixed up a bit, hopefully sometime by then we'll actually have more races and subclasses added in. And like I said, Larian, if it's any incentive, I'm more than willing to pay for those things because of how badass you've done here. You have made a game so stable, so well thought out, so well executed, and so passionately, dedicatedly worked on, and ensured that it was a functional, worth its price game to such a vehement extreme that honestly, any real gamer appreciates what you've done, applauds you, and hopes that there are more like you into the future. And we also hope that you don't, like other studios, lose your way. This game has been so much fun, not tactical mode, but it's been so much fun. And honestly, while I have almost 700 hours, I will not stop playing it. I am going to ensure that by the time I'm done with this thing, it's going to rival Skyrim and Oblivion combined. In other words, somewhere around 50,000 or more hours put in. I would love to say that I'm joking, but that would be a lie. Honestly, this is the score. If you're someone who is new to D&D, to CRPGs, this is still a high score game of a minimum of a 9. Even 8's hard to believe, but I can say with confidence you're going to have enough fun here. It's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be that. But if you actually just accept that and you play the game and you just acknowledge that, oh, I got to do a little learning, you're going to have fun. My girl, who's a COD faithful, was able to have fun. And hell, having someone who can back you will make it even more fun. Honestly, though, for me, giving this game a 10 almost feels like a disgrace. With how much fun I've had, with how much fun I keep having, with how many hours I've put in, with how many hours I'm going to put in, with how much I'm going to continue to literally play this game on a loop, and with how much I have enjoyed this game. I I can't give it a 10. That's not good enough. It isn't, honestly. But on top of all of that, I'm going to give it yet another point for just simply being exactly what we needed most in all of 2023. And something that honestly is kind of helping me in 2024 a bit, since a lot of games right now are and there's not a lot of heavy hitters yet. Maybe they'll come, but for right now, the only heavy hitter I can think of that's possible heavy hitter, let me rephrase that, possible heavy hitter, might maybe be Dragon's Dogma 2, depending on how they release it. If they release it stable and functional, it could be a heavy hitter for 2024, but I have no idea because there's really not much yet. We'll see as the year goes on. But ultimately, this is helping and it is keeping me occupied while I wait to see if maybe there's some other heavy hitters that'll be announced for this year, or maybe some that I missed, especially since I'm far behind on the news when it comes to games that are supposed to come. So yeah, this has kept me occupied and it's been an absolute blast, and I haven't stopped having fun even for a moment. And I'm still finding things that I didn't even realize were things. And I'm still trying to repeat some of them that I caused accidentally. But because I'm stubborn and I kind of want to try and do it myself, I'm not looking up any guides for certain things yet. I looked up a couple recently when desperate, but like it takes some it takes some desperation for me to do that. It has been so much fun. Honestly, the only score that I feel like is worthy of giving this game is honestly a 12 out of 10. You heard me right. I've had so much fun so consistently and so constantly throughout the board that honestly, there's no other way for me to give. I've had, even though I have complaints, like I said about tactical mode and the BS that entails, and all the artificial crap within. The facts are is I've had so much consistent and constant fun that I cannot justify giving it anything lower than a 10. I can't. And with how much that there is still left for improvement and advancement still, and with how much stuff that can be added in time, this game, I have a feeling, so long as they continue to care, so long as they continue to give an F, so long as they continue to do exactly what they've done here, honestly, I only see things getting better when it comes to Larian. I honestly cannot emphasize that hard enough. I only see things getting better and better from here. And honestly, I cannot emphasize this hard enough. Honestly, if Wizards has any common sense, this is what they're going to do business wise because it will legitimately do exactly what's done here again. Honestly, make it clear to Larian Studios that if they want to work on Baldur's Gate 4 someday down the line, that they are more than welcome and they'll be the first one chosen. Because honestly, Larian has proven that they are the one of, I wouldn't say the only, because I will say some do try, even if they fail miserably, but I will say this. Larian, you have done an immaculate job here. Not because of BS practices or criminal management, no. The reason why you literally killed it here is because of the simple fact of you put in the work, you put in the effort, you put in the time, you put in the money, you put in the manpower, and you made sure to do your damnedest to release this game solid as hell. And while there might have been some small glitches, some small errors, none of it was game breaking. None of it was even affecting my game for more than a couple seconds. And pretty much none of it could be repeated in a later playthrough. If that's not a shining example of stability, I don't know what is. And honestly, I know us, the people, have already said it, but I'm just going to say it again, just as a giant middle finger to these tools. Yes, this game is exactly what should be used to inspire other games across the board. Not because they should be gimping or doing exactly the same things as Baldur's Gate 3, no. But because they should be striving to ensure their game is the same level of stable, of functional. That's ultimately the big thing here. Is the reason for why Baldur's Gate 3 was the only game that could is because it was stable, it was well executed, and it was finalized properly. Because of that, Baldur's Gate 3 killed it and crushed all of y'all at the Game Awards. That's why. Because you didn't release in that state. You didn't finalize your games properly. You didn't take those extra steps that were needed. Some of you did make some pretty, banger games, but the problem here is that you made banger games that didn't really have the aspiration of Game of the Year. They just had the aspiration of being banger games, and that's it. For Game of the Year, you need to reach harder than that. You need to actually put in that extra effort. And that's what honestly Baldur's Gate 3 did with flying colors. That's just a fact. It's unavoidable and irrefutable. Sorry, game journos, but no one's buying your bullshit. Or at least no one who's an actual gamer is buying your bullshit, I should say. Everyone is telling you just make your games functional. They're not saying have a bear fucking scene. They're not even saying COD should be a turn-based game. Oh no. No, no. All they are saying is we want these games to be themselves, but functional. Worth playing. Honestly speaking, Larian, thank you for what you've done here. And now there is some talks about potentially a Divinity Original Sin. We're at 3, or was it 4 now? I lost count. Sorry. I've been playing this game. I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 too much. I can't get track of nothing. When it comes down to it, honestly and sincerely here, in all as much as I gotta say it, I'm just gonna make sure to hammer it home as best I can, okay? Honestly, for Divinity Original Sin, for a sequel to that game, I'm gonna beg of you, please, please don't make the map worse. Like, please. The Original Sin 1 map was borderline impossible to read to the point where I couldn't even play the game properly or even get anywhere within it. I literally had to quit. Divinity Original Sin 2 map, mwah, beautiful. Now, I did have to cut out a lot just for time's sake because we're already almost an hour long already. Ugh. But I will say, it's just there are some stuff I skipped over. For example, the overall, I just keep calling it ping system. I don't. There is a proper name, but for some reason it is leaving my brain. But there's basically a system where you can utilize a cursor to select a location to go to. Ultimately, I feel like that same system was done better in Divinity Original Sin 2 because so long as you've been to the area, you can just scroll your cursor wherever you're trying to go to have them auto walk to that location. And you have that here lightly. The problem is they can only do it within a very, very, very short distance, which kind of sucks. My mouth is going dry, and I'm having trouble speaking. Eh. Oh joy. Ultimately, I'm going to power through just so I can bring up some other stuff that had to get skipped over, unfortunately. For example, I had to skip over something that, mind you, was a problem originally, but now has a kind of a fix for it. But originally in Baldur's Gate 3, what you would have to do every time you wanted to multi-class, you would have to increase the difficulty and then bring it back down if you're playing on Explorer. If you're playing as balanced or above, you didn't have to do that. But for Explorer, it was kind of obnoxious having to go, okay, increase it to balanced, pick what I need, decrease it again, or forget to decrease it, and then, I died. Again, this can be mitigated a bit by having someone who's got the experience and is willing to kind of help guide you through it. But yeah, it's pretty annoying. There is some other things. None of it's really too big of an issue, really. Um, for one example, there is a kind of a forced lesbian couple. I will say it's not even a billionth as bad as any other game that's done this exact same stupid ass shit where it's meaningless. Here, these two are actually kind of important characters to some extent. They're also, if you are obsessed with lore, they get fleshed out pretty decently. I wouldn't say as far as I would like, but they do get fleshed out as characters and they become a little more interesting. You kind of learn a bit more about them, or you just don't and you ignore them. That's completely up to you. I go back and forth because I see an interesting concept. It just needed a little bit stronger in certain aspects, and a lot of what makes them interesting needed to not be basically books. No, really, book lore. Ways book lore. Which kind of sucks because, like I said, they do kind of get a little more interesting when you have that lore, but because of where the lore is and how scattered about it is and how much of it is basically pulling the same shit I had to do with Final Fantasy IX all over again, where I had to freaking find every single tiny microscopic book that involved these two, either directly or indirectly, then compile all that knowledge, then read the subcontext as I'm at it, then put all that together to finally get their whole deal. Spoiler alert here. I say this all the time for Final Fantasy IX, despite that being like one of my first games I ever like completed as a whole. I'm gonna tell you right now. I should never have to put in that level of obsessive, friggin' borderline psychotic level of research just so I can learn what a character's whole deal is. If I have to do that, F I you. F I you twice. No. No, that sucks. It suck a fat Henry balls. Follow still? Cool. Great. There are other things I also had to skip over, but I am kind of pushing it, trying to cover as much as I can in this later bit, because again, we are already almost an hour. We are literally freaking almost 5 minutes away. Holy crap. So yeah, ultimately, it's just there are many things I had to skip just to try and keep this video short. So I hope you managed to, you know, even though knowing that, I hope you guys managed to laugh at me, laugh with me, maybe crack some jokes about how my PC has decided to basically ensure that the Digimon and Dragons video has been postponed. Oh joy. Yeah, the reason why is because the original recording for that video got 50 minutes completely erased and not recorded at all. For no reason and with no justification. So great, right? So I did have to do a little, I will have to finish up editing it. I have to re-record the thing I was going to slap on the end because it didn't actually record very well. It like was a slideshow. Hopefully, when I bring that up, hopefully this PC can get fixed up so it's no longer a problem. We'll see. I have no bloody clue anymore what to do. I just know that right now, things are pain in the ass and frustrating. Hopefully, like I said, this fixes it. We'll see. But in the meantime, I will see you guys as soon as I can with this problem. Hopefully, if things go well and it's an easy fix, hopefully, maybe I can upload that video on Thursday, but I have no idea until I talk to the dude, which isn't even going to happen for, hold on, dear Lord, many, many hours. Let's just go with that simple answer. Many hours. Again, I do apologize for how late the video is. It's just this is what's happened, and things kept piling on and making things harder. So sorry about the lack of editing. I mean, if I can try and edit it some other time and probably do a longer video in the future, but with my PC like this, I can't even do that. I would be stuck with my phone, and my phone can only take so much at any given time. So yeah. Wish me luck, everyone. See ya.